welcome to another episode of Read All About It. I'm your host, Reed. Today we're switching gears a little bit from what we've mostly covered on the channel, which has been firearms and rifles and shooting in those regards. And we're switching over to archery because I just got myself a new Hoyt RX9 Ultra, or not Ultra, it's the regular RX9. And what I had been shooting for the last several years is the Hoyt RX3 here that's also on the table. And I thought it might be kind of interesting to do a little comparison on the differences between the two, considering they're the same manufacturer and just, 6 years, 2019 to 2025, 6 production years difference between them. They're both the carbon versions. So we can kind of take a look at what's changed over the last little bit, see if there's any performance gains to be had, or if I just spent money to spend money. So without further ado, we'll kind of break down the specs first here. I'm going to resituate the bows so I can go over one at a time. So let's get that set up, and we'll start with the RX3 first. All right, like I said, this is the Hoyt RX3. Its production year was 2019. This is set up as 29 inches and 80 pounds of maximum draw weight. It's in the Gore Optifade Elevated 2 camo pattern here. I have it set up with a Spot Hog Fast Eddy XL sight with a double pin, vertical pin in the housing. We have the Hamskea Hybrid Hunter rest. I upgraded the launcher on that. And then we have a Hoyt one-piece 4-arrow quiver and bee stinger stabilizers with sidebar mount and quick detach and things. And then we have an OMP little kickstand for it as well that I usually shoot with it on, especially when I'm just practicing and things. And then we have America's Best Bowstrings, platinum set of strings on here that are a couple years old now at this point. So I'll also be curious to see, because I haven't put it on the scale since I put those strings on, to see if it's lost some poundage or anything over the shooting that I've done with it. But the strings have held up well. I don't regularly wax them, but I haven't shot as religiously as I used to. So let's kind of break down the specs on this. So axle to axle length on it is 30.5 inches, with a brace height of 6 inches. Draw length range is anywhere from 25 to 30 inches. With a rotating module to change draw lengths in half-inch increments, with 2 different size cams to fit that range. So you've got a number 2 cam and a number 3 cam. This is in the number 3 cam, and like I said, it's set up at 29 inches of draw length. Features of the bow: it had 80 or 85% let off. It's currently set up at 85% let off. Mass weight was 3.9 pounds and IBO speed rating of 342 feet per second. So we'll test the speed at both of them at the same weight with the same arrow, to see if there's any discrepancies there, and just kind of see what 6 years does in the archery industry. I mean, most of you are probably aware that it doesn't do a ton in the way of speed and performance anymore. Just, I think we're kind of at the limit of what the materials and things can do. So we're kind of at that speed threshold. So what we're gaining now is, the accessories are more integrated, more in line, balance and features and weight reduction and streamlining of things, I think is what we've seen as far as advancements over the last little bit. But the new bow is similarly set up and similarly equipped, so let me get that on the table and we can run down those specs and how that bow is set up as well. Alright, so I've got the RX9 here on the table. Like I said, very similarly set up to my old setup. The old setup, nothing was wrong with it, but this came for sale on Facebook for a good price, so I thought, what the heck, let's try it out. If I wanted to try it out, I can shoot some arrows through it and I can more than likely sell it and not lose any money if it's not what I'm looking for. So like I said, we got the Hoyt RX9 in tombstone color here, which is that solid gray. We have the MX2 rest from QAD. We have the Spot Hog Boonie sight with a double pin, vertical pin in there. We have the Hoyt little mini stubby stabilizer that comes with all the new Hoyts, mounted up with the Go Sticks 2.0 and the sidebar mount with a 6-inch bar on the side. And then we have the one-piece super light Hoyt quiver here, and it's full of UltraView 1K 250 spine arrows. They came with the bow. I don't know if I'll ultimately shoot them. They were cut for the previous owner. They had it set up with the 30-inch mod on the bow, so they're a little longer than is desirable for my draw length. So I'm undecided whether I'll shoot those arrows or shoot the arrow setup that I had for my previous bow. This one too is set up at an 80-pound max. So let's run through the specs really quick while I unlock my computer here. So the RX9, 30.5 inches axle to axle as well. Mass weight of 4.0 pounds, where the RX3 was 3.9. Brace height is 6 1/8 inches. The RX3 was 6. Draw length range is 25 to 30, which is the same as the RX3. And the speed rating is 342 feet per second. So the specs are almost identical to what the RX3 were, bare bow to bare bow. So we will take some weights on the bows and see, what the updated accessories. This has all the inline mounted options that a guy can get. So integrated breast, integrated sight with the Picatinny mount. They're, as tight as you can mount on the quiver here. Nothing excessive stabilizer wise or anything like that. So we're pretty apples to apples, I would say, between the two setups. So let's get the scale out and see where things shake out here for, what each one weighs set up as you would go into the field with them. And let's take a look at that. So we've got the RX3 on the scale right now. As I would take it into the field, including the little kickstand that I have for it, it's sitting on the top cam to balance it out because my stabilizers and things made it want to tilt. But as you can see, that is 7 pounds, 9.2 ounces. That's 4 arrows in the quiver. And everything as a guy would take it in the field hunting. So that's where the RX3 sits. Let's get the RX9 on the scale. All right, so I've got the RX9 set on the scale as a guy might go out in the field with it. And we are at 6 pounds, 14.8 ounces. So we did shave some weight by one. I've got a much shorter stabilizer setup here that doesn't weigh quite as much, and then losing some weight on the mounting systems for the sights and rest and things like that. But we are with a 6 arrow quiver here, so we're carrying 2 more arrows. Conversely, just apples to apples, these arrows weigh about 500 grains. The arrows in the RX3 weigh 550 grains. So for whatever that's worth to you. But we did shave, what is that? 9.2 plus 1.2, so 10.4 ounces is what we shed in 6 years by streamlining those things. But so is it worth an upgrade on that alone? Probably not. But it is nice if you're very, very weight conscious, if you're going in the backcountry. A half pound's a half pound. So with that said, let's go ahead and get up and get set up and shoot some arrows here, so we can take a look at what the speed has done. I'll have to find my draw scale. I have no idea where I put it. It's been 5-6 years since I've used it. So we'll have to find that so we can make sure that we're shooting 80 pounds on both when we're doing the speed test here. So I think for the speed test, we'll shoot both the UltraView 1Ks and my Easton Axis 265 mils. The Easton Axis, like I said earlier, are 550 grains. And then the UltraView 1Ks are just over 500. So we'll see what there is for a difference. We'll shoot 3 out of each bow with each arrow and try that out. See what we get. I've got the RX3 in my hands right now. I can't set it up so that you guys can see the chrono and me at the same time, so we're just worrying about the chrono. You don't need to see my abysmal form. So that was 277.7. Last time I shot this bow over a chronograph, I was averaging 282 feet per second. That was 273 and a half. And one more here, then we'll go pull them. $273.9. Let's go pull those, and then we'll shoot 3 of the 1Ks. All right, now I've got the RX3 with the just over 500 grain UltraView 1K arrow. So we're at 288.6 there. As one would expect, the lighter arrow goes faster. $288.5. $287.7. Go pull those, and we'll switch over to the RX9 next. All right, so I have the RX9 here in my hand now. And these are the Easton Axis 5mm. All right, so that's considerably faster at 285.9. So that's what? We were 277 was the fastest on the other. So we're 8 to 12 feet a second faster on that first arrow, but let's shoot another one here and see what we figure out. $286.4. I do notice that the RX9 draw cycle is stiffer. Like I said, I want to put both of them on a scale and make sure that the RX3 is still pulling 80. But I can definitely tell a difference in the force curves between the two. $283.8 on that one. Let's pull those, and then we'll shoot some of those UltraViews. All right, so to sum things up, there is a little bit of difference in 6 years of technology. I wasn't able to find my scale, so I wasn't able to confirm the draw weight on both of them. Like I mentioned, the RX9 felt stiffer, but it's different cam geometry. Both of them were set at 85% let off. So no difference there, but we were faster with the RX9, even though the advertised speed is identical. The brace height is a little longer on the RX9, which wouldn't lend itself to more speed spec to spec wise, with this being a 6-inch brace height and this being a 6 1/8-inch brace height. But it shot both the 550 grain arrow and the 500 grain arrow at blazing speeds. We gained, on average, 11 to 12 feet per second on those. And then we also lost 10 ounces of weight, pretty much apples to apples. The bows are set up almost identically. They're both carbon bows. They're both from Hoyt. They're both modern technology. These are the factory strings on the RX9. Thought about getting some gas system X, which might even increase that speed a little bit more, which is what they're advertising. Otherwise, I might just get another set of AVBs or something else, a custom set to swap out the factory strings. I do know I need to practice some more. The muscles aren't in shape for what they need to be for drawing the bow. My shoulders have been taking a beating. I went and had an MRI on them in December to follow up. I had a labrum surgery 9 years ago, and it was starting to feel a little pain and things, doing some different exercises, bench press and things in the gym. But such is getting older, I guess. Just need to do some more rotator cuff and mobility drills and strengthening and things like that, and just work on my form and make sure I'm recruiting the right muscles and things. But we'll work on that before bow season gets here. I will take these outside and do some distance shooting. I'll get the lab radar out that can give me downrange velocities as well, which might be kind of interesting to see. Like I said, I haven't completely made up my mind that I'm going to keep the RX9. I was able to get it for a used price. So everything minus the Spot Hog Boonie, I was able to get for right at like $2,000. So it was, essentially how I wanted to have it set up. The Ultra Rest MX2, I would have preferred maybe the Epsilon. That's just my preference, is to go limb driven over cable driven. But I'm not complaining. It's a fine rest. It's just my personal preference there. But it's a great bow, shoots well. I'll be curious too. I'll throw them on the draw board some point and take some geometry specs at draw, because the string angle is different. Even though they're the same axle to axle length, the cams are relatively similar sized, but the string does fit my face differently between the two, which takes a little getting used to, but it's nothing right, wrong, or different about either one. It's just I've shot this bow for 6 years now, so you get kind of used to how things feel. But I'm sure the RX9 will feel very similarly after a little bit of range time with it. So I'll sign off with that. If you guys enjoyed this, give me, like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. Like to grow the channel. Give me feedback, things you'd like to see. If you thought this was helpful, all in, is it worth buying a new bow today? I probably wouldn't have done it if I didn't get it for a used price, and it was pretty much what I had been kind of putting on my Christmas list. I can't get nearly what I have invested in the RX3 out of it anymore. Used archery prices aren't very great, but it is what it is. Everything's relatively expensive, but $2,000 for a bare bow is a lot of money for a bare bow. For what it is, it's very nice, but like I said, I probably wouldn't have purchased it off the rack at a dealer. I was able to get it used on the interwebs, and was able to save about $1,000. Essentially the accessories were free, and I didn't have to pay any tax on any of it. So I saved that money as well. The RX9 I bought, or RX3, I bought that used too when I bought it, and similar situation. It was the model year that it came out, so it was like January of 2023. Somebody had bought it along with another bow. They shot them side to side. They ultimately chose the other. I forget what they were comparing it against, but I picked it up for a used price at that time. I want to say I paid like $1,100 bare bow for it, and then bought the rest used on Archery Talk. I had the site, but similar situations between the two of them anymore. I love getting the new stuff and shooting the new stuff, but I can't really justify spending the amount of money and taking the depreciation hit year after year for what it costs. My firearms seem to hold their value substantially better than archery equipment does, but I love archery hunting, so I will continue to participate no matter the cost. Look for some more videos on the RX9 compared to the RX3. We'll make this a little bit of a series. If there's anything specifically you guys would like to see between the two, let me know. I don't have intent on selling the RX3 just yet, because like I said, I don't know if I'm going to keep the RX9 or just keep the old trusty RX3. It kills deer and animals just as good as anything else I've ever had. So like it, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next one.